Hello everyone, Ceri Griffiths here, or as you also know me, Ceri the Crafter. So, just want to quickly jump on to give you a bit of an introduction to what's happening with this video, and it will be a series of videos. I intend launching all the videos at the same time, because I know how frustrating it is to watch one video, you hunt for the follow-up video, it hasn't been launched yet, by the time it launches you've forgotten. It's frustrating. So, and I know I get it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to film a series of videos. Don't know how many videos it's going to be in the collection because it's going to be quite an intense project that I do, and then I'll divide it up into bite-sized pieces, or I will make the videos so that they make logical sense as to where the end is. So say something needs to dry, I'll go, right, see you in the next video. I will do my darndest to put one of those follow-up video links, end cards at the end of each video leading to the next video. Fingers crossed on that one, not a techie person. However, in the description box below, the one down there, there will be listed every single video that is in the series. So if I can't manage to do the end card, which I should be able to, I'm sure I can work that one out. If not, I'll put a call out to someone or something like me. You will see all the videos there. So what am I gossiping on about? Okay, earlier this year I went to Chicago to meet some friends because I used to live there, and then we went and we did my trip to Alaska for my 60th birthday. Although by the time you see this I'll be 64, so that'll show how much COVID knocked that one out the park. And one of the things I did when I went over there is, as you know, I'm one of the designers for PM Artist Studio. Now the P stands for Patricia, the M stands for Mariah. Patricia and Mariah are mother and daughter. They're friends of mine, colleagues, whatever you want to call them. We're really good mates now. I've been designing them for them over a year. They like to do projects, they like to do theme stuff, and I wanted to offer them a project which I could also do at the same time. So, when I was over there, I took with me, and I mailed to them, 2 of these. Now, these are masks for decoupage. I buy them here in Hobbycraft in the UK. I will endeavour to put a link in the box below to Hobbycraft. As I said, it's UK. However, I know Mariah is trying to do a search because you cannot tell me these are only made in the UK. They've got to be made somewhere else. So Mariah is trying to find the link for them. So there'll be a link in the description box to the ones at Hobbycraft. If Mariah ends up finding a link, I will put the link that she's found in there. Her link may be an affiliated link to Amazon. I'm not sure. We haven't got that far yet. So basically, I said to Mariah and Patricia, I want you to each create onto these masks using your own style, and I will do the same thing at my end. Now, Mariah and Patricia do 4 lives a week, and they're doing their masks in lives. I don't do lives. I'm on my own here. Technology is not my best friend, and my anxiety would go through the ceiling if I was trying to cope with doing a video, doing a live, and controlling comments and controlling technology. It's just not going to happen unless I have someone stood here in this room with me, basically calming me down when my anxiety peaks. Anyway, so I'm doing a series of videos. They're going to do them in the lives. Now, I love doing these masks. So much so that when Black Friday came round, the masks were well, they were 50% off. So I've ordered another 7 of these. So they'll go into my project drawer. So you will see masks in the future. I've got this thing that I want to do in the future. I want to do a Venetian one that's like all reds and golds and jewels. Haven't got round to that one yet. So one of the masks I've made in the past is, and my Spanish is absolutely terrible. It was a Day of the Dead mask. Is it Mer de la Mortes? Please forgive me if you're Spanish speaking. I probably just killed that completely. Oh, no pun intended. It's Day of the Dead. I know Mortis is dead. Is it Mer de la Mortis? I don't know. Eddie, if you're watching this, help me out, kid. Make sure I say it right by just writing it in the comments, and then when I see it written down, I'll cut it out of there and put it into the description box. So anyway, so this is one that I made from there. It was decoupaged napkin, and I painted the rest, and I love this. Stays on my wall, love it to bits. And then several years ago, when I was working on a shopping channel TV show, I was asked to create a display piece to mark the launch of an air drying clay product for making artificial flowers, and I created this beauty. See, and as you can see, I put it on a stand, and again, I absolutely love this. I love masks. Funny enough, my family doesn't love masks, so basically, if I make any masks, they have to stay in either my bedroom or my studio because everyone else thinks they're spooky. I don't. So here we are at the overhead. This is the mask that you just saw in the shot. Before anyone asks me, this is the clear gesso that I used on it. Any clear gesso I think would work. Probably even a matte medium, but I've used this purely because, as I said, it's got a sort of grit to it. So it means it will grip whatever I put on there. And I'm going to be using air dried clay on this. So I want it to stick a bit. Right, how have I set this up? Right, I've got a bit of black foam so I can move this around without having to handle it too much. I also have one of these Tupperware type boxes. Oh, that's where my pipettes are. And I can sit this on here, and then what happens if I turn it up? It's not actually touching the foam, but it does give me something that I can move it around if I wish. But if I give it a bit of a push, it is quite stable on there. So that's how we're going to be working on this. Now I've got some basic stuff with me. I'm going to be using high tack, very sticky glue. Some people call it tacky glue. This is called tacky. It's the same one. I bought a spare bottle. I've got some water because I need some water on the go. I've got just a container of water here which I can put my brushes into. If I've got too much glue on stuff, it means I can put them in there. Also, it means I can wet my hands. I'm going to put some of the glue into, actually I might as well do that while I'm talking to you, into one of these containers. Let's take the whole lid off actually, because I'm going to need quite a bit of glue, and I'm going to use the glue to attach the air drying clay, but I don't necessarily need it to be the consistency it is. That's way too much. I can also put it back in the bottle though. That's the good thing about something with an opening that size. At the end of the project, I can always decant it back in. Now, I'm going to put a bit of water in here as well, because it's a water-based glue. And then I'm just going to take just a regular paintbrush, give it a bit of stir up. It's still quite thick. I mean, I'm not pretending I want it watery, but I just don't need it as gloopy as it was before. Okay, so you can see it's brushable. Now, actually, I can leave the brush in there. It doesn't really matter, does it? Now, this is the air dry clay I'm using. It's a brand I'm familiar with. I've used this in the past to actually make air dry clayed molded pieces, and I've made flowers from this in the past. I've made structures with it. It comes from China or Japan. I have a couple of distribution places here in the UK that sell it on a regular basis. I am absolutely certain it's in other countries as well. But as it says, it is an air dry clay, so I don't need to bake it. I don't need to do anything other than basically let it air dry. I do know it comes in 9 other colours, but I pretty much just favour the white one because I can always colour it or paint it whatever I want. Now, when I first take it out, it's going to be reasonably soft, and it may feel slightly wet. If you let it breathe in the air, it will dry out a bit. It depends on what you're using for. I always seal this back up. I've got a bag over to my side here that I'm going to put that in afterwards. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a damp cloth over it so that the end that's exposed isn't actually going to dry out. Now, this is a really lightweight air dry clay. You can use whichever clay you find. I believe you can actually make your own clay. I've never done that, but I know you can. I'm just going to guesstimate this. Now, my aim is I want to build the cheekbones up so they're a little bit higher, which will accentuate the V of the face. Probably bring them forward a bit too, so I've got to try and mold them in there. I think I might do something that might be a bit of a central ridge, and maybe from here do something that comes up around here. I don't know, guys. I am purely just playing. So I'm just taking a piece of this. Now, because the human face isn't symmetrical, but I would imagine this mask is symmetrical. So I'm going to put this piece to one side because I want to make sure I've got roughly the same amount on either side. So if I make one ball, cut it in half, I've got two pieces roughly the right size. Now, this clay shrinks when it dries. It shrinks by about 12 or 15%. Am I bothered? No, because once it's fully dry, I'm probably going to put a layer of paper over the top. I'm definitely going to put gesso over the top of it as well. So I'm not worried. I'm looking for a structure that's sound but not too heavy. Also, sometimes it cracks when it dries. Where it shrinks, it pulls itself apart. That also doesn't bother me too much because I'll just fill in any cracks that are on here. So I'm just going to come in. Now, I'm quite lucky in that I'm reasonably ambidextrous. So that means that as I'm working, I'm going to be working both sides at the same time. Obviously, you don't have to do that. I mean, you do what you do yourself. You do you. So it's just so I get this on here. Now, the clay itself will stick to itself. The clay will stick to some dry surfaces, although it's not always guaranteed. So I'm putting on some just to make sure that there's some of this tacky glue here and it's in contact. Now, not done this before. I've got a reasonable teardrop shape and I'm just going to put it in there. Now, I could end up taking quite a bit of this off as I work. And also remember, I'm looking through an iPad to do this. So I don't actually know how difficult or how easy it's going to be. Now, because of the nature of this, if I wet my hands, I can smooth this clay. So I'm just going to work it up. I know I want the cheekbones higher. I quite like the fact that I'm enhancing this eye line here. As I said, who knows what will end up on this. I'm going to pull this down a bit and then work it in all the way around. So I sort of have an idea in my mind of how I want this to look, but I don't, it's not written in stone, let's put it that way. I'm willing to play and just take it in the direction I feel it needs to go in. It's just once it's on here, then I think I'll be able to manipulate it into what I'm looking for. I need to keep wetting my hands just to help it smooth out. So I'm trying to get it fully in contact so that it's on there really. Now, you could quite easily do this with paper mache. Paper mache is a mixture of paper pieces and glue. I'm sure you could do it with that. Just take it off that box for a second because the boxes begin to annoy me. So smoothing that down. So I said, I'm not going to see it in the final thing. Pull this up here. I'm trying to remember human anatomy, basically, but it doesn't have to be because I want this to be almost a fictitious creature. Any excess I don't want, I'm just going to swipe away my thumb and put it onto the lump that's over to one side. Now, it does take, I would say it takes a full 24 hours for this to dry properly. So I've got working time. And as long as I keep wetting my hands, now, this is not looking symmetrical, is it? But it is kind of going in the direction I want it to go in. Now, I'm not going to speed up any parts of this, guys. So if you do feel you're getting bored or you want to fast forward, please do. I mean, I very often will fast forward other videos I'm watching if it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I've seen you doing that for 15 minutes now. Let's just take that to another level. I'm going to use this cloth, my cloth for keeping the thing dry, wet, just so I can push it around without getting it all over my fingers. Now, I would suggest don't use a heat gun or a hairdryer on any sort of air-dried clay to dry it, because what you may find you'll do is it will bubble. Right, we're getting there with this, I think. This side kind of feels almost right, and this side doesn't. I'm trying to continue the V from the face upwards, and then quite a dramatic look in here. I think if I have something in mind as to what it may end up looking like, is kind of like the cheekbones on Angelina Jolie when she played Maleficent. That kind of feel is what I'm going for. Does it have to be smooth like skin? Not necessarily, but part of me will like it to be smooth. Now, I'm not sure you can sand this when it's dry. That's another thing I'm not familiar with, so I've never really had the need to sand it. But it is a paper-based clay, so I suppose you could always just, I suppose you could sand it in some respect. Using a dry paintbrush to take that out of the inner of the eye. Yeah, I love doing these masks. I must admit, it's just, as I said in the introduction, I've done quite a few of these now, and it's just wanting to push the barriers of them a little bit further. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to be finishing this off. I could be painting it. I could be using painted papers. I could be using something with texture. I'm actually not really sure. Turn this upside down and see if that helps me. Sometimes that does help me when I'm doing stuff. If I turn it up at a different angle, I can see the symmetry better. That's feeling a little bit more like I want it. I've got a bit of a dink here that's really bothering me. I mean, I've got all this down the side, which will get sorted out eventually. I'm not worried about that at the moment. Let's take off bits like that. So, there's probably people out there who do this all the time who are cringing at the moment at my attempts at this, but I'm a great believer, unless you have a go, you never know, do you? I mean, I've not done this. I've used this clay before. I do other sort of constructive stuff with different sorts of clays, like you've seen that I do fairy houses, and no, I can't do videos on them. It's beyond my capabilities in this space to be able to film the construction of a fairy house. They're just too labor intensive, to be honest with you. And I mean labor intensive as there's just too much changing of angles, lifting up, moving around. I just don't. I've seen other people film it, and it's not for me. Let's just put it that way. Right, I think I've got the basis of where I want to go with this. I smooth that down a little bit. Now I could use silicone tools on this. I could use other things, but I'm okay with where I'm at. As I said, it could become textured in the end anyway. I just want the initial structure of it done. I'll try not to touch the bits I've worked on, which would be counterintuitive. Counterintuitive, is that the right word? Or counterproductive? Counterproductive, I think, is what I'm trying to say, not intuitive. Let's just pull that off with the remainder of that. Oh, I squished that, didn't I? I mean, I can alter things. So I'm using the handle of the paintbrush just to flatten some of these bits out. I can use the decorating technique to also enhance any shaping I've done. So let me get this off this edge. So it could be that I use light and shade and stuff like that to actually work out where the high bits and the low bits are. Right, how am I feeling about that? This one lump here just doesn't seem to be pleasing me. And of course, it doesn't help that you're all there sat watching me do this. Right. That feels like it's becoming more symmetrical. Not that the human face is symmetrical, but who said this is human? Once this is all done and dry, I will be giving it one full coat of white gesso, purely to unify everything and also to seal the clay in even further. So I think we're almost there. So a little more water on my hands. I find it easier to smooth if my hands are wet and they're not sticking to it. I have seen that Patricia and Mariah at PM Artist Studio are now starting theirs. It's a pity I don't do lives because it would be interesting if we did them in tandem. But as I said, I just don't have that facility here. I couldn't deal with it all on my own. So right, what do we look like? This one looks slightly... It's as if I need just a little tiny bit more on that ridge. Right by there. Now it should, not should, it will stick to itself. You can colour this clay with acrylic paints, like when it's white you can put a little bit of acrylic paint in with it to colour it up. I would say, however, be cautious of that, because the moment you start adding another chemical to something, you are messing around with the balance of stuff. I think we might be nearly there. I think what we're going to do is, that's getting there. He's got a bit of a scar here. I think we need to be careful that my perfectionism doesn't start kicking in, thinking that I absolutely need them perfectly symmetrical and balanced, when we all know I don't. But that's definitely altered the look of that. How much have I got in the eye socket? Now, I don't know what the sex of this is either. I don't know whether it's meant to be male, meant to be female. I'm actually not even thinking about that. Let's just give this a bit of a spritz just so I can smooth it out. It will absorb the water and then the water will eventually evaporate, but it's a really good way of smoothing stuff down as if it's wet. It almost dissolves the surface of the clay. Yeah, I do have plans to do more of these in the future. As I said, I've had this thing in my mind that I want to do a Venetian mask, you know, the whole masquerade sort of thing. And I don't know yet whether I want to do it in red and gold or blue and gold, or heck, I could even do one of each. So, I don't know. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that where it is, actually. That's not looking a million miles away from what I was expecting it to look. Let's turn this all the way around. Now I want to do something that goes up here. So I can get some of that glue in here again. I'm not really sure I want to bring it that far down the nose. If down the nose at all. But I'm kind of thinking almost like a brow ridge going this way. So I'm going to roll this out relatively narrow. And then work it out I think I'm going to have to at some point add a layer of maybe tissue over the top of this just to unify the surface all over, I think. But we never know. As I said, I might actually be using printed tissue to do that process anyway. Of course, my thing is going to be trying to get this straight up the face. Yeah, I did say you could do this with paper mache, but I'm not sure how I would go about getting it really smooth. So I'm just getting my nails to get some of that off there. I don't need all of that on the edge of there. I keep reaching across for water, that's why I'm reaching to the other side, guys. I'm conscious that I can't touch the sides, which is the thing I'd really like to do. Right, you need a little bit of work on making sure you're in the right direction now that I've turned you back around. I was thinking about putting ridges in this as well, which is very, very tempting. The more I'm looking at this, the more it's making me think of maybe like a sea creature or something. Well, certainly different shape than it started out. I like this lightweight clay because, well, it's in the name, isn't it? It's lightweight, which means that when I hang this on the wall, I'm not going to be having a whole pile of weight pulling down on a hook or a nail or a string. So am I up to time-wise? So it's about 20 minutes. Right. Right, so we're kind of getting there with that. I think we're on the right track. I'm trying to hold this so that I don't destroy things. It doesn't look straight to me. To try and remove a little bit of the excess because we're in the middle of winter here. So the thicker this is, the longer it's going to take to dry. And I'd rather like to get this out. The whole series of videos, I'd like to get them out. I'd say by Christmas, but I can't imagine that's going to happen by Christmas. I've got way too much on the go. What I do traditionally in December is I look back on my entire year and see what lessons I've learned, what things worked, what things didn't work. And then I usually give you guys an update, which is my intention. So, right, that's got a bit of I need to smooth that out a little bit. Not for any other reason than if I don't, I may end up with a really odd shape here. Right. And once, as I said, this is all unified, I don't know, I could make scales and put scales on this. I may paint it, I may do painted papers. Okay, I think I just buckled that over. That is so not in the right place. This feels like it needs a little bit in there now. I like these decoupage things. I mean, they sell them in my hobbycraft shop here in the UK, and they don't only have masks, they have animals, they have like masquerade masks, they have shapes, they've got, did I say animals? They've got animals and stuff. So it's really, I like playing around with stuff like that. Right, I think that's very much, I wish this wasn't here, but I can't get rid of it because that is actually the paper underneath. I'm liking that. Now I was going to pull pieces up here as well. The only trouble is, the more I put on, the less I can handle it. So if I start working there, the only bit I can hold is the chin. I wonder what it looked like. Let me just lay a piece over here. Oops. It doesn't help to have wet hands when you're trying to roll clay, does it? Just trying to work out whether it's what I wanted to do or not. I'm not sure I do anymore, to be honest. No, I think that could be overkill. Now, do I want to do anything with the chin? I mean, I've left the nose very human. I mean, I could easily take the nose here and move it out. Look a bit like Voldemort then, wouldn't it, from Harry Potter? I don't mind the basic structure being humanoid. I wonder, is that enough, do you think? What about if I increase the ridges of the eyes? Do you think? So I'm just playing around. That's a good thing about this clay. I can put it on and take it back off again. If I do that, it would really make them buried sockets. Maybe not. I think for this time, I think we might just leave this as is. Yeah, I think I might leave this as is. So what I'm going to do now, so where are we up to? We're up to about half an hour here. I think my intro was about 10 minutes maybe. So I think what we might do is I might call this a day here, as in, say, call time on it. And then what I will do is I will put this to one side to dry. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be dry. I'd like it to be dry by tomorrow. Oh, glue brush needs to be in the water. So thanks for your patience, guys. I'm sure it's going to go a bit quicker from here on in. As I said, what I'm going to do is, once this is fully dried, and I'll do it all, I'm planning to do the whole mask with you. So there's not going to be any secret stuff going on, or that's definitely not my plan. Once this is fully dried, I will come in and we'll take a look at it. As I said, if I'm happy with what's going on, which I just want to fiddle now. If I'm happy with where we're at when it's dry, then we'll go in with a base coat of white gesso and we'll just see what we've got. So, okay, thanks very much, guys. I will see you in part 2. Bye-bye now.